Roger, we saw CPI came in line, though it was the biggest month-over-month increase since January. But then we also got jobless claims, much higher than expected. Did that pretty much cement that Fed rate cut next week, or do you still think there are any questions at all?
No, I think the rate cut next week is pretty much cemented. I think the question is, how is the Fed going to communicate that it's staring at the most complex situation known as stagflation? Risks to both sides of the so-called dual mandate, I think, are moving in the wrong direction for them. So I think the real issue is not next week's likely 25 basis points, but what, if anything, can they signal about the future? And I think the markets are expecting maybe a bit of a campaign. I'm not sure the Fed is ready yet to commit to more than one cut, and then we'll wait and see.
All right. So you're saying they're not quite ready to commit to more than one cut. So is this a situation where you think we could see a kind of a hawkish cut? Is that something that you think Jay Powell and company might signal, or would it be just more we're data dependent and they're going to say that they're looking ahead to other jobs reports and other inflation reports?
Well, they're certainly going to at least say data dependent. And I think they're definitely going to want to try to rein in expectations that they have, planned several more cuts. He's going to say something like, meeting to meeting, data dependent, et cetera. He can't close the door on further cuts because I think it's a possibility. But I don't think he wants the market to get so far ahead of them that they're now, trying to catch up to expectations that maybe they can't meet. So I think more we're certainly data dependent and leaning towards a little bit of wait and see.
What about some of that company data that we're getting from companies like we just mentioned, Restoration Hardware, that they're seeing a tariff impact? It's hard to not think that the impact that the companies are seeing won't eventually show up in prices.
Well, look, I think it's already starting to show up in prices. A close read of the last set of pricing data, CPI data, shows that the tariff-exposed sectors are those that are seeing, big price increases. And overall, to say that it came in and the inflation came in line at 2.9% is not to give everyone comfort that it's moving towards 2%. And so, there's no doubt that we're seeing, companies start to pass this on. Surveys also suggest that after attempting to avoid passing this on, they are passing some of these price increases on. So I think it's already a clear and present danger that we have stagflation, and it's a challenge for the Fed to maintain its inflation fighting credibility while also pivoting towards a weakening employment situation and overall slowing growth.
Roger, we've got to ask you about the latest in the saga between President Trump and Lisa Cook. The president asking a court to let him fire Lisa Cook ahead of that meeting next week. I want to get your take on what would the potential impact be if that was actually successful and just this drama going into the meeting. Does that weigh on members of the FOMC?
Look, I think people are certainly aware of it. I hope it doesn't weigh too much. They have to, look at the data directly. I think what everyone should be concerned about is this potential loss of independence plays into the market as in, rising inflation expectations. The president clearly wants a dramatic series of cuts that will feed into inflation. And I think the market, particularly out at the longer end, is going to respond to that by seeing, rises in the 30-year. Add to that the pressure from, sort of the ongoing fiscal deficit question. And so I think this is a dangerous situation for the president. He is not likely to get the outcome that he wants, which is a reduction in interest rates across the yield curve, because attack on Fed inflation reduces inflation fighting credibility, feeds into the notion that we need to pay higher interest rates out at the 10 and the 30-year level. Has not happened yet. Doesn't mean that it won't change in a moment's notice.